Welcome back to Awesome People Talking. I'm your host, Braden Carlisle. Today we have an excellent podcast for you. Andi Gladwin is here. Together we're going to talk about his magic origin story, and we're also going to talk about Vanishing Inc's origin story. We're also going to discuss how to use this time of quarantine to our advantage, and the amazing thing that Vanishing Inc is doing with ShareMagic Live on April 5th. Then we'll share some bad jokes and reminisce about the retreat in Costa Rica. Finally, Andi shares his weird opinion in magic. I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's get into it. Thank you again, Andi, for joining me on the podcast, and I want to start this episode just like we start every episode with your magic origin story. Just how did you get into magic? What was that first trick you learned? Just however you want to take the question, what is your origin story?
Hello, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited about this. It's good to catch up since we first met on the retreat.
Absolutely.
My origin story is sadly the same as most magicians, and I always wish that I had a cleverer or more interesting answer. But I was a kid who learnt magic, and I was a kid who forgot to stop doing magic. So that part of my life is pretty standard. However, I didn't actually want to be a professional magician. I wanted to work in IT as I was growing up in my teenage years. I wanted to be a programmer. So that's what I did when I left school. I worked as a programmer for I think 5 years, and then I moved to marketing. I was the UK product manager for the UK's largest web hosting company. And then we started Vanishing Inc. during that time, and life got busy. I was doing gigs, I was doing Vanishing Inc., and I just didn't have time for all three of those things, working, gigs, and Vanishing Inc. So I realized something had to go because I wasn't really getting any time to do magic, to practice magic. And I'm very lucky to have friends who are exceptional magicians. When the people you hang out with are people like Joshua J and Luke Jamay and Ben Earl, you know that you have to be good because those guys are good. And I was kind of not having the opportunity to practice and work on new magic. So I think one of the few magicians that actually left their day job, not because they wanted to be a professional magician, but because they wanted to be a good magician. So my origin story gets more interesting the later in life I go, basically. So I quit my job to practice magic.
That's awesome. And you mentioned Vanishing Inc. in there. Obviously, you and Josh J started Vanishing Inc. If you could give us like a brief origin story of Vanishing Inc., that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so 12 years ago, when I was doing the day job that I told you about, I split my time between two places. I lived in London in the week, and then I lived back home where I was born in Gloucester in the UK on the weekends. And it just so happens that when you have two locations in two very different parts of the country, it's a very useful thing for people who are lecturing, such as Joshua J, who was doing a UK lecture tour, because he had somewhere to stay in both parts of the country. So he spent a lot of time staying with me when I was in London and in Gloucester. And we had many nights of, sitting at home talking about magic and our dreams. And it turned out that we both had similar kind of issues in our lives, which was that we were working on magic products. So Josh was creating tricks that he would release, and he just didn't have enough control over them. And I was writing magic books back then, and I didn't really want to give over those magic books to people I didn't think had the same vision as me. So
Right.
We both had the same kind of issue of, well, we want to be able to control these things because we feel like we have the skill set that other people don't when we're combined, that other magic producers didn't have. So Vanishing Inc. existed basically to solve a problem. And we never expected it to grow in the way that it did. Actually, in the first year or two, it had already exceeded what we thought we might be in 5 time. So we got very busy very quickly, and now here we are 10 years later. I get to speak to my best friend every day. We talk about magic, and then we also talk about Vanishing Inc. And we now have a team of 18 people, many of which you met at the retreat. And now it's a busy. Essentially, the day job that I quit is now what Vanishing Inc. has become. I'm very busy again. But I love it, and I get to talk to this whole team of magicians every day, including Josh, my best friend, and we talk about magic, we talk about Vanishing Inc. So I have the best job in the world, I think.
That's awesome. And it's funny that you say like your day job that you quit has become your job now, because every time, at the retreat and Magi Fest, you and Josh are just always running around doing all the back end stuff that you never think about.
Yeah, but you know what? I think we secretly thrive on that. Like if you see me and Josh at another convention, you'll see us kind of sat there restless because we love what we do, and we really do feel like we have the best job in the world. And the fact that we have the team that we do, who are all magicians, all hand chosen, all friends, does actually make it so much easier and so much more fun. So I can't complain in the slightest.
Yeah, the team seems fantastic. I did meet a lot of them at the retreat, and then again, I saw a bunch of them at Magi Fest, and the warehouse guys are so much fun to just hang out with.
Yeah, well, there's a real advantage of only having magicians work for us is that when we get together, we just talk about magic, which is also a disadvantage when you're trying to run a company.
Right, right.
But during the Black Friday sale that we had last year, Josh, myself, and George, who is our general manager, we all flew over to the warehouse to help with the workload because Black Friday gets crazy.
Oh, I bet.
And we would spend all day together, all day talking about magic and laughing and packing orders and doing these things. And then in the evenings, we would go out and we would do more magic. And it's just basically a non-stop magic session. During our weekly meetings, we have a weekly meeting with the whole team, and so everyone's on video, and people start doing magic, and it goes downhill very quickly, but it's good fun.
That's awesome. And to jump back even earlier in our conversation, you said Josh was putting out tricks, and you were writing books that you didn't want to give up control of, and the quality of books that Vanishing has put out over the years. Like I've got parlor tricks right next to me. I've probably read this book 3 times in the past month, and I've got The Boy Who Cried Magic. Nice little plug right there, right behind me. I'm currently on my first read of that. The contents are great, but the books are beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's mainly because I love creating books that I would like to own.
Mm-hmm.
Books typically were quite stuffy and not well produced, I guess, in the past, and that's really improved over the last decade. Not just through the work of Vanishing Inc, but through other people as well.
Right.
And it's a great deal of pride for me. So my book, for example, The Boy Who Cried Magic, which is actually not out yet. It's going to be out in a few months.
Right. I got it at Magi Fest.
You got one at Magi Fest, yeah, one of the kind of preview ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's a book that I realize is going to be available for the rest of my life and hopefully longer. So of course I want it to look as good as I can. So
right.
Every one of these books, I put so much effort in, and so do the members of the team. We have a full-time graphic designer. George, our general manager, works on some design stuff as well. So yeah, I want it to look as good as I can, and it's such a passion project because they don't need to look as good, or they don't need to cost us as much as they do to produce. But I'm so glad that they do, because I have all of the books on my shelf right next to me, actually, every Vanishing Inc book, and I just look at them and smile because I'm happy that we can be a part of making magic books cooler and look nicer as well.
That's awesome. I actually purchased Scott Robinson's Pure Imagination based solely on the looks. I did not know who he was, and I'm glad that I bought the book. It's full of amazing things. I actually won a golden ticket. I got one of those things, yeah.
Did you talk to Scott?
No, because I haven't finished the book yet.
Funny. So yeah, the idea we did was, so the whole book is basically themed around kind of Willy Wonka, subtly in places. And you know what the starting point for that was? Is Scott often wears purple shirts.
Really?
and I kind of just looked at it and I was like, well, he has a trick called the Willy Wonka card trick. And it just kind of connected, like Pure Imagination would be the perfect name for Scott's book. So it just kind of fell in place very tenuously. But because of that, the book looks, I think, really cool. And yeah, we're not supposed to judge books by their cover, but I think it draws us to it, actually.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that one came out. It's having full color photos as well. I mean, we're very lucky that print costs have reduced quite a lot over the last 20 years or so. So now a magic book can just be full of full color photos.
Right. Like sometimes you get the books where they just describe something, or even in like Tarbell, it does have some photos, but they're not, they're not as good as we have as current books.
Right, exactly. They're sparsely illustrated, and they had to consider so much to put an illustration in a magic book from back when Tarbell was written was so difficult.
Absolutely.
I have in my collection some of the original Marlowe manuscripts, so the ones that they actually used to print to basically photocopy. And
Wow.
I see this, that every paragraph is cut up and there's a typo and they've cut a little extra word out that they've stuck on top. And like
Oh man.
those things would have taken weeks and weeks to produce. And yet now I can lay out a small magic book in a couple of days.
Right.
It's a different situation. But so we're very lucky to be in the time we are.
Being in the time we are right now is something of a novel time to be in with the COVID-19 and everything, and we have to stay indoors. So I was wondering, like, how are you staying busy? Like, what's some good advice? I know you wrote a blog post on how you practice. Maybe we could, like, brainstorm how to use this time effectively. If we have to be inside, we should try to be productive.
I agree. And yeah, this is a kind of different time for me in some ways because as a business owner, I'm now working as hard as I can to make sure that all of the guys who work for us and that the company is secure and safe. So
Right.
I'm one of those people, well, maybe it's a lucky thing or an unlucky thing, I don't know. But I've not had the luxury of sitting around thinking, what do I do? I mean, I've been working harder this last week, last 2 weeks than probably I've ever done before.
Nice.
But I'm also one of those people who thrives on that kind of thing as well. I thrive on being busy. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, sadly, there's been no Netflix and quarantine for me. But I'm sure there will be as things quieten down. And yeah, I'll tell you what I would do, and that's I would do lots of mini studies. So I would decide on, the next couple of days, I want to study the side steal, and I would go to my books and I would look at every book I can that contains this mention of a side steal, and I would research it, and I would try and find out which is the best handling, or I'd play around with my own handling. And once I'm bored of that, I might think I'm going to learn a chop cup routine, and I would focus on that. And that I think would be a way to keep me busy until this whole thing is blown over, and way beyond that too. And I would also do, I guess, what I do very regularly anyway, and FaceTime my friends and Skype my friends and work on new magic with them too. So while there's a lot of sadness for magic right now because many of my magician friends, they've lost all their gigs and we don't know when that's going to come back, I think there's also, I'm kind of looking forward to how we come out of this because I know there are so many creative people in magic, and the one thing many of them lack is time. So now that they're given time, then what are they going to come up with? I'm so excited to see how magic gets pushed forward due to this period.
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
I have friends writing books now that have never had time because they're always on the road gigging. And there are magicians who are now focusing on creating tricks just for Instagram that have never done that before. So while there's a lot of bad news going around right now, like there's some good to come of this as well.
Yeah, I'm actually currently writing a duo show, which I've always wanted to do, but have, like you said, never had time to. And one of my friends who has professionally studied acting, he doesn't know any magic, but he's super down with the idea of doing a magic show. So we're actually working on that together through Facebook Messenger.
It's great, right? What an opportunity that maybe you wouldn't have ever managed to get to, or you'd have been too busy for. And actually, Josh and I have some projects that we've always been talking about doing. And, life can't just be about work, even though right now it needs to be. So we've already said that we're going to take some time and actually start working on these projects that we've been talking about for years. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of good come out of this from the creative industry, I'm sure, and also from the science industry and many other places. But time is the one thing we were lacking, and now that we've got it, let's try and use it wisely.
Absolutely. And like you said, you would pick a topic and study it. One of my friends actually suggested, for those of us who do have a full tarbell set, or even if you don't, you can do this with any book. But you would get a random number generator. You can find one online. You can roll a dice, whatever you want, and you go 1 through 8, and then you grab that book of tarbell, and then you roll another random number generator, and you get a page number, and then you just have to open that page, practice that, and then just brainstorm a routine around that trick.
Perfect. Yeah, there are some tricks that would be kind of tough to do, like
Absolutely.
some of the tricks or whatever. But maybe that's the challenge, right? Maybe there's a way of then going, I could never do that trick. Let's see what I can turn it into, something that I could do. So yeah, I think that's great. I think there's so much we could be doing right now, yeah, of course, there's Netflix that'll keep us busy, but there's also so much cool magic out there to learn. I think a lot of us are going to rely on magic downloads quite a lot in the coming
Hmm.
months. And actually, we're in this great period now where some of the best magic published is through downloads. So,
Absolutely.
so
There's so many lectures available online.
right, lectures, sleight of hand downloads. If you want to learn
Hmm.
an insight, then actually perhaps a download is probably the best place to learn it from right now.
Right.
So, yeah, well, this is weird to say, but maybe there's never been a better time for this to have hit us. I mean, it's a horrible thing to have hit us, but
Right.
we can certainly keep busy and we can certainly make use out of this time to improve our own magic.
For sure. And speaking of lectures and downloads and everything that's happening online, you guys at Vanishing Inc. are doing something super cool on April 5th at noon EST. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's called ShareMagic Live, and it's just going to be some live lectures by a bunch of amazing people for free because of this whole mess that we're in right now. And you can probably explain it better than I'm doing right now. But what like how did this come about? Was it just kind of like you guys are like, let's give back to the community kind of thing?
Yeah. So you explained it very well there, by the way. But yeah,
No, thank you.
vanishing. We see a true responsibility for leaving magic in a better place than we found it, and we work very hard on that all the time. So it's not just about what's the next product or what's well, there's a sale coming, let's promote that. It's what can we do for the good of magic, and I don't think there are enough organizations in magic with that viewpoint. So we feel like we take on that responsibility and we don't take it lightly. So when something like this happens, our first thought is how can we help magicians in need? And if magicians have problems and they need help, they can contact us and we'll do what we can. But often we're thinking about how can we help magicians en masse. And this idea of the fact that we organize conventions as a big part of our business made us think, well, maybe we could bring a convention or an online event to the whole of the magic world and make it free. We people need some cheering up right now, I think, at times, and need something to focus on. So I'm so proud that the Vanishing Inc team, as soon as I proposed this idea, jumped. We were within hours. We had the logo ready. We had an idea of what platform we were going to use. The text for the website had already been written. We move so quickly. We have such an agile team that we can do that. And lots of other companies can't because they're big and they move slowly. But we have a team that is willing to put in the extra hours to get this going. So it's the whole goal is let's do something to give magicians something fun to focus on. Let's try and reach as many people as we can, and it's entirely free. And yeah, we have such a great lineup. Harapan Ong, Morgan and West, myself and Josh, Danny Garcia, Caroline Raven. It's going to be really strong. And I'll let you in on a little secret. We haven't announced everybody yet.
Oh,
There's
really?
some really big names to come. So this is going to be a really fun event, I think.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I signed up the minute I heard about it. I put in my email. I'm like, I'm gonna be there.
Great. Well, we are glad that you'll be there, and you'll be able to interact as well with all of the lecturers.
Oh,
So
really? That's awesome.
and say hi and chat as the lectures go on.
That's awesome. And I just so this whole thing just started as like an online convention that turned into this huge free giving back to the community. That's amazing. Like nobody else is doing that. Some people, they're putting some things online for like discounts or whatever, but this seems truly inspired. Like, hey, you're staying inside, let's be together even virtually.
Yeah, and I'm so pleased that it's been so positively responded. Magicians have responded so positively about it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's going to be great. It's just like you were saying about the conventions where I look kind of stressed as I'm running around. I imagine behind the screens I will be pressing many buttons and doing many things
Right.
quickly. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, but we have a great team to make this viable. And yeah, I think Magic in general is doing lots of good stuff
Hmm.
in this whole kind of COVID-19 phase. So I'm just pleased that we can be a small part of that.
Absolutely. And now we've talked about the COVID-19 and the world for about 10-15 minutes now. I want to know, just to get us on to like a lighter note, do you have any go-to bad jokes?
Oh wow.
It's a huge topic change, but
Yeah, that is a yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wish you were talking to Josh right now. He has loads of. Yeah, I do. Okay. All right. Here we go. Um, what did the drummer call his twin daughters? Anna one, Anna two.
nice. I like it.
That's
All
not the
right.
word I give you.
All right, I've got one for you.
Go on.
Um, um, what kind of jeans does Mario wear?
I don't know.
Denim, denim, denim.
Good, good. I like
Yep,
it.
yep. You shouldn't. It's bad.
Yeah, the good thing is when you like magicians or comedians, they never laugh at these things. They just go, good, good.
Right.
I
Good.
like it.
Good. That's funny.
Uh,
Or my favorite. Is that yours?
yep, good. Yeah, just another word for can I steal that?
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, that's my least favorite thing whenever I do any kind of gag or line and a magician's like, I'm going to steal that. Well,
hmm
I didn't really give you permission to steal
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe you don't.
yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you for sharing the bad joke.
I'm very sorry for sharing it.
Me too. Mine as well. So, one of the last things I want to do here is just, talk about a time that was better. Not that this is terrible. It's just, last May I was able to go outside to Costa
Yes,
Rica to the retreat. See how that all ties in there?
love it.
Yeah. And man, that was such a fun time. I just what was like your guys' experience? You were running it. I know as an attendee, I met some amazing people that I'm still in contact with. I learned about some new magicians. I'd never known about Paul Vigil before the retreat, and now I've got his book sitting on my shelf, and it's probably one of my favorite books that I own.
It's a great book.
It's a
Yeah.
great book.
Yeah, so the retreats is interesting because there are many projects in Vanishing Inc's history that we have had kind of on the back burner. We've always said one day we'll be able to do this.
hmm
And when we hit our 10-year anniversary, we thought, well, maybe this is the time to actually start trying to push forward with some of these things. And we'd always talked about the idea of imagine a magic camp or that kind of thing for adults. And actually, the original name for it was Magic Camp for Adults, which I'm glad we changed. But
The retreat just sounds better.
exactly, the retreat sounds much cooler. So yeah, we wanted to do this thing. We wanted to get a load of magicians together, and we thought, let's do it somewhere cool, somewhere where that people would actually want to go to. So Costa Rica was the choice, and Josh, myself, and George went there to kind of check out the hotel. So that was a fun few days where we got to just hang out around the hotel and make sure it was the right place. And if I'm honest with you, we thought we might get maybe 5, maybe 10 at best people, and that was it. That was the true story of it. We thought that's about the number we'll get.
hmm
And then within, I think it was 24 or 48 hours, we totally sold out of 40 people. And we
Wow.
were genuinely shocked. We had no idea that that many magicians would want to come essentially on vacation with us.
Yeah.
The secret of the retreat is that it's basically a vacation with your magician friends.
hmm
And my favorite part is that you get to see some excellent magicians in situations that you would never normally see them in. Like, could
Right.
you ever imagine if I said to you a year ago, "Hey, you are going to go zip lining with Mike Caveney"? Like, you
Right.
would. That's weird. Or you're going to see waterfalls with Danny Ortiz. Like,
hmm
oh my God. And so that's the whole idea of the retreat is how can we make unique experiences with great magicians? So we're going to continue this every year. We're going to do it in a new location every year. So, yeah, the plan right now is this year is going to be South Africa. That may need some tweaking along the way to work out the dates. But yeah, we'll be in South Africa. We have Danny Garcia and Guy Hollingworth, and Josh and myself will all be lecturing. But we get to go on safari at the same time. So I'm really excited about this one. I've never been to South Africa. It's going to be a really fun experience.
Yeah, I remember at the end of the Costa Rica retreat when you guys announced to South Africa, it was everybody just kind of went bonkers for a minute.
They did. Do you remember we were outside? So we did that event. So
Yeah, around the pool.
final event around the pool, and we did the award ceremony. We have this fun thing called the Trickies, where we give people awards for fun things that they did during the convention. So there was an employee, Eric from Penguin, was there, so we gave him
Yes.
the Spy of the Convention award, and
Well, I
yeah,
don't think you gave it to him. I think you threw it into the pool.
Well, that's true. I wasn't going to mention. But yeah, and we gave, I think, was it Ben Earl got the award for pulling on his t-shirt the most, and yeah, just
Hmm.
fun stuff. And that's what the retreat's about. It's not just the fact that you get to sit and see an extended lecture with Paul Vigil or Danny Ortiz, or it's not even the fact that you get to do yoga lessons every morning with Tina Leonard.
Hmm.
It's that we get to have this fun stuff that's you wouldn't normally see at a normal magic convention.
Yeah, I think the most thing, I think the thing I enjoyed the most was the unscheduled midnight story time with Mike Caveney.
How great was that?
That was
And
amazing.
the session that he organized just after dinner one night, where he just got loads of magicians to do tricks, and everyone was giving feedback on each other's ideas. Like that's what we always wanted the retreat to be, but
Hmm.
you can't really engineer stuff like that. People have tried
Right.
in the past, but you have to let something like that just flow naturally, and it definitely did. And a big part of that, I think, is having the right people there. So, having Mike Caveney there is a great opportunity for him to take the lead with stuff like that. Or having Ben Earl there was great because he would sit and help people with the technical aspects of their card magic. And
Hmm.
of course, Danny Ortiz would hold court whenever he was around and doing magic. So it was such a fun experience.
Yeah, and something I never thought would happen. I had a room mix up, and when I got there, Rune and I were booked for the same room.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Sorry
so
about. Did you share? You didn't share with him, right?
no, no, it got sorted out. I think we were next to each other at the end of the day, but it was just a funny thing. It's like if you told me I was gonna go to Costa Rica and Rune Clan would be booked for the same room as me unexpectedly, like the things that you were talking about, zip lining with Mike Cave and seeing a waterfall with Danny DeOrtiz, like these things, it's just it's again bonkers.
And that's the whole idea of it.
Hmm.
So the truth of the retreat is we really tried to embrace it as attendees as much as we could as well. So we were trying not to work too hard there because actually we wanted to experience this. And that time we were doing the zip line, I spent an hour walking around there with Danny Garcia and Rune Clan, and we were just brainstorming tricks with balloons. I have no idea why. I just don't like use any of those tricks. But
Nice.
like a whole hour getting to talk to two of the most creative magicians of the world about that one random subject. Yeah, it
Hmm.
was so much fun, and I can't wait to do it again and again and again.
Absolutely. My personal plan is to go every other year.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Well, the next one we're still keeping a secret. I'll tell you once we finish recording. But the next
Okay.
one is going to be a really cool location. Actually,
Oh,
it's not
awesome.
it's not going on safari, but it's going to be really cool.
Well, I can't wait to go. I'll be one of the first ones to sign up for 2021.
Oh, you're a good man.
Well, this kind of brings us to the end. We're getting about to the half hour point. So, what I do is I ask everybody this question. Some people have an answer, some people don't have an answer. But here's the question: what is one opinion that you have about magic that you believe other magicians would disagree with? And just to give you an example, Shin Lim, when I asked him this question, he said, "Don't practice too hard." So that's the kind of thing, just an out there opinion that you may have about magic.
Wow. Okay. All right. How about this one? That I don't think secrets are as important as most magicians do.
Hmm.
I think magicians worry way too much about keeping the secret of their method, and actually to the point where it kind of is somewhat of a distraction. I think um, the trick first and foremost is most important, the effect that it has on people. But I wonder whether magicians spend too much time focusing on trying to keep things secret.
Right, like the fact that if somebody knows the double lift exists, then they're going to assume it is used in every trick. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about, or like the method for a specific trick?
The method, I think specifically
Gotcha.
the method. There's that amazing quote. What is it? Magicians don't keep secrets from you; they keep them for you.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, the secrets are the most boring part of the trick, almost always.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are some tricks that are exceptions to that, and that's what Penn and Teller, would capitalize on back in the day. But secrets. There are far more important things in magic than how the trick works. So, and I think that maybe magicians worry too much about that. So, I love there's a Darwin Ortiz quote in Strong Magic, which is method is only important in how it affects the effect. And I think about that a lot because it's true. I think the effect is way, way, way more important than any method is. So, yeah, secrets are not as important as people think they are. That's my weird opinion.
I like it. I haven't heard that one before, but every time I ask this question and somebody tells me their weird opinion, as you put it, I find myself I'm easily swayed. So I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm easily swayed as well, and I can easily sway myself. So I could answer the same question with secrets are the most important thing in magic, and probably convince myself. But
Nice.
you know, like Jermaine said to me once, that certainty is the enemy, and I think he's probably right. So yeah, like that's my opinion right now, but that may change, and it will always change with the context as well. What I'm talking about. I always try and kind of stick to context over consistency. So. I may find an effect where the secret is the most important part of it, and I will change my view.
Nice.
For now, secrets are not as important as I think, and as some people think they are.
Right. Except to sell books and lectures.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Andy, for joining me on the podcast. And I know it was super short notice. We organized this yesterday. Now we're recording today. So thank you again. Is there anywhere that people can find you, or what's the website for the ShareMagic Live?
So if you just go to Vanishing Inc, you'll find it there. It's until April the 5th. It will be very visible on the website. And if you don't know about Vanishing Inc Magic, then just Google ShareMagic Live, and it's the first Google result that you see. And yeah, I hope that all of your listeners join us because it's going to be a fun day of lectures from some wonderful magicians.